So if you've been in the automotive scene for a while, have been around like Japanese cars, you're probably familiar with the name Tain, known for their affordable coilovers and most notably probably for their lowering springs. Now, Tain's been around for a hot minute. Back in around the 80s, they were doing stuff for OEM applications, making OEM shock absorbers. And it wasn't really about until the 90s and early 2000s that they started doing aftermarket stuff because they're like, hey, we're pretty dang good at this and we can make aftermarket applications for these coilovers and shock absorbers and lowering springs. So that's where we got hit with the TEIN coilovers. Now, like I mentioned before, these are the Flex Z Coilover system. So this is a full coilover system. Now what I mean by that is that in the Tain lineup, there are multiple options that you can get from their Street Basis, their Street Advanced, their Flex Z, their Flex A, all the way up to like their Pro, like two-way coilovers and things like that. And a lot of those entry-level ones like their Street Basis and Street Advanced aren't a complete coilover. It's more like a shock absorber and a new coil spring. You have to reuse a lot of OEM parts, but the Flex Z is the first in that lineup that includes everything for your coilover. So you get the top mounts. This one actually has camber adjustment, which is awesome. And you get everything. This is ready to install. You don't have to swap anything over from your OEM application. Now this is a bit of a goofy looking one. This is for a 2000s Honda Civic, I believe. I think it says on the thing here. Yep, Honda Civic 2001 to 2005, or the Type R from 2001 to 2005. So EM2, ES1s, ES2, EP3s, those kind of Civics. So that's what we're gonna be looking at today. We got some spanner wrenches in here. Looks like we got some additional washers. We got our damping adjustment tool, things like that. Looks like we got a decal, which is always good. We're gonna go ahead and get the other two out here, and I'm gonna try to remember how this all goes back together because we have to send these out to a customer yet. So thank you so much for watching this and you bought these TEIN Flex Z Coilovers. Thank you so much. So here's our second rear one, which are just little baby coilovers. They're really tiny. All right, so that should be everything in the box here. We're just gonna set this to the side and take a look at these suckers. So here we have everything all laid out and we can get a better look at them. So starting with the rear ones here, we do get pretty much full adjustability on these things. You do have the damping adjustment on top. We do have, obviously, as a coilover should, the adjustable lower body. We got our locking rings here. We get this gorgeous Tain green, the iconic green from Tain. We get pretty much everything ready to go, ready to pop into your car. The weight on these are a little bit on the heavier side. That is one thing to note if you do compare them to like a set of Fortune Autos or like BC Racing even. You will find that the Tains do just have a little bit more mass to them. Now, if that's of importance to you, so be it, but if this is just something that you're looking to throw on, say, like your daily driver or your older Japanese car that you just want to get a little more performance out of it, a little lower of a ride height, they're gonna do absolutely fine for you. So I actually owned a set of TEIN Flex Zs. Personally, I had them on my FRS. I had them for about 3 or 4 years, and honestly, they held up absolutely great. They felt really, really good. Tain usually has a bit of a softer spring rate when it comes to that, so just kind of keep that in mind if you're looking to run like a super tight fitment or anything like that. Custom spring rates really aren't going to be a thing with the Flex Z. They will be a little softer than your typical coilover when you compare them to like a BC, but they do keep into account specific vehicle weights and masses and things like that. So it is an adequate amount of spring rate that they put on there, but they do tend to lead a little more on the softer side when it comes to their spring rates. So had them on their FRS for a while. It felt very close to the OEM suspension as far as just like daily driving and stuff like that. But when you did get into it, you could definitely tell that you were on coilovers. They didn't clunk or anything like that. Honestly, for an $800 set of coilovers, they did freaking fantastic. And ever since then, I spoke very highly of Tain, and I've recommended it because they've been around for a long time. They're made in Japan. They know what they're doing. They make some really good stuff. They have a variety of things, whether if you want to spend, you know, $600 on a set of coilovers, $800, all the way up to like $3,000 on a set of coilovers. They have something for you. And a lot of people don't know that about Tain because they're just an older Japanese company. And older Japanese companies just, I'm gonna say it, they're kind of terrible at updating websites and marketing. They just kind of do what they do and expect people to figure it out. And then they get people like us to come on and talk about their products on stateside so people can figure out what they are. But overall, the Flex Z is a great coilover system. It's super affordable. And so when you compare that to some of the other coilovers on the market in that price range, I don't see why someone wouldn't go with a set of Tains versus the other brands out there. Taking a look at the front ones here, obviously for the Civic that these are going to be going on, this little arm here is going to be necessary for installing. Not all your coilovers from Tain are going to have that, obviously specifically to that platform in general. You still do get the camber adjustment on here, up to a few degrees of camber with the front plates here. Again, depending on your vehicle, depending on your suspension setup, more than likely, if you have the ability to adjust camber with your typical aftermarket coilover systems, they're going to include these adjustable top hats. The one for my FRS had it as well. Looks like this one for the Civic has it too, so that's awesome. Notice down here on the lower side of the spring here, this is a little isolator that they call it. It's just a little piece of like hard plastic or rubber to keep that spring from moving around, to help reduce any noise if the spring does shift around or anything like that, so you're not getting any clunking or grinding noises or anything like that. That's what that little brown piece is down there. Of course, you can't get a set of coilovers without your spanner wrenches. So you got some Tain branded spanner wrenches here. Pretty sure I still have mine sitting in a toolbox somewhere as well. You're gonna need those to adjust your coilovers. And remember, when you're adjusting the height of your coilovers, do not touch your preload unless you need to set it. These, I believe, are set from the factory when it comes for preload, but your lower body is what you're going to want to adjust. This lock collar right here and this lower body. Use this to adjust the height of your vehicle. Do not use your preload setting to adjust your ride height, or it's gonna get super stiff. It's gonna take out all that preload or add a ton of preload, and you're not gonna be happy with the ride quality. You're like, man, why do these things ride like absolute crap? Gels told me they ride really good. The only other thing I'll say when it comes to the Flexis, we get a lot of questions in regards to the Flex A variant of these coilovers as well. So some year make models out there will have a Flex A option versus a Flex Z, the FRS, BRZ being one of those. Typically, from what I've read and what I understand, that the Flex A is meant for a little more of like the off-road kind of style, like more like rally style. I think it's like a little bit softer. It's meant to have just a little more travel. That's what the Flex A is gonna be for. But the Flex Z is gonna be great for your autocross use, your daily driver use, your light track use, things like that. They're gonna hold up absolutely fantastic. So if you're looking for a budget-friendly, awesome coilover that's gonna have the brand name to back it up, that's gonna have the quality to back it up, that's going to have everything that you need to install your coilover successfully, Tain is a fantastic option. Now, unfortunately, they're not as affordable as they used to be, just like everything else in the world, but they are still pretty dang affordable when you compare it to the other coilovers on the market. And what you're getting for them, I can't see why anyone would go with anything less as far as quality or price or anything like that. This is about the lowest that I would comfortably go on a set of coilovers, and I do mean that, and I do still mean that they are a good set of coilovers. So with that being said, if you are looking for a set of Tain coilovers, whether it be the Street Basis, the Street Advanced, Flexi, Flex A, you want to go crazy with a wild set of Tain coilovers that no one's really ever seen or heard of before, but they have them, remember, you can mod your car at martiniworks.com.